Hello friends, this video on active and passive voice part 9 is brought to you by examfear.com. No more fear from exam. Now, one last question and the most important question is, now that we have learned about active and passive voice, we know that how do we convert active voice to passive voice? How do we convert passive voice to active voice? The most basic question still is, where do we use passive voice? Like, why do we need to have two different voices? For example, an apple is eaten by Ram and Ram eats apple. Now, both of these mean the same. So why do we have these two different voices? For example, when we are speaking or when we are writing, where should we use active voice and where should we use passive voice? So that is a bigger question which might be still there in your mind. Now, the active voice is used in most of the cases. So active voice is like the straightforward voice, where the statement in a straightforward manner tells you that the subject does something. The subject is doing the work. It is mentioned or it is being told in the statement in a very straightforward manner. So that is active voice, and active voice is used in most of the cases. Whereas passive voice is used only in those cases where you do not want to be very specific. Like, let me give you certain scenarios where we use passive voice. We use passive voice when we want to emphasize the object. That means when we want to give more importance to the object. We also use, now let us take an example. For example, the blue chair was broken by them. So in this case, the emphasis is on the blue chair. That is, it is not the table, it is not the red chair, it is not the vase, but it is the blue chair which was broken by them. So the emphasis is on the object. So when you want to give more emphasis, when you want to bring the focus to the object, then you use passive voice, because you could have written the same sentence in active voice, like they broke the blue chair. But in that case, the focus is on they. They did this. But when you want to bring the focus to the blue chair or the object, then you use passive voice. So this is one case where you should use passive voice, when you want to emphasize the object. The second scenario is when the subject is not known. For example, the chair was broken. Now, you do not know who broke the chair, but all you know is that someone has broken the chair. So, since you do not know the subject, you do not know who exactly is the doer of the action, in that case, instead of writing someone broke the chair, it is a better way of writing that the chair was broken. That means the chair is broken, but I do not know who broke the chair. So when the subject is not known, or when you do not want to mention about the subject, in that case also we make use of passive voice, because passive voice focuses on the object. So in passive voice, if you want, you can mention the subject. If you want, you cannot mention the subject as well. So the chair was broken is an example of passive voice, and this is an example where the subject is not known. The third case could be the subject is so obvious that you do not want to mention about it. For example, rules must be followed. So rules must be followed by whom? By everyone. So that's quite obvious. So when we say rules must be followed, we know that it must be followed by everyone. So in this case, the subject is very obvious. So looking at the context of the sentence, you get to know what the subject is. Therefore, you do not feel the need of mentioning the subject. So in that case also, we make use of passive voice. In fact, most of the advices or instructions are generally given in passive voice, because the instructions are meant for everyone. So in most of the cases, we do not feel the need to mention the subject in the instructions, and that is why advices and instructions are generally in passive voice. So these are three scenarios where you should use passive voice. Otherwise, in the normal conversations or in normal write-ups, we make use of active voices in most of the cases. So I hope that with this slide, it is clear to you that why did we learn about active and passive voice? Because in case you come across a scenario where you want to emphasize on the object, or you do not know the subject, or the subject is very obvious, in those cases you would need passive voice. So you should know how to form sentences in passive voice. You should also know how to convert a sentence in active voice to passive voice. So that was all about active and passive voice. Try to solve more exercises. Try to do conversations making use of active and passive voice, so that you can improve on your spoken English as well. Try to form small sentences. Try to form the sentences in passive voices as well, and I'm sure that practice will help you to improve your English. So I hope this lesson would have helped you. See you all in the next lesson. Thank you. Please visit examfear.com for free quality education. You can learn with a simple 4-step learning process wherein you can watch video lessons, you can ask your questions, you can refer notes, and you can take a free online test. We have content for class 6 to 12 on physics, chemistry, mathematics, and biology along with practical videos. So please subscribe to our channel for daily updates. Thank you.